Welcome in, my guy, Bill PIDTO. Got the streets buzzing. How are we doing, Bill?
22 games left. Sixth right now, maybe fifth. How about a first round playoff series against the Cleveland Cavaliers? How are we feeling about that? Maybe.
I feel good. That's buzzing. Uh, these New York Knicks, right? What a season! 6 games over 500 at the moment for the first time in over a decade. What's been the key to this run?
Jalen Brunson, to me, he's just been better than anyone could have expected. He's been fantastic. I just am in awe of how he's able to create his shot. He doesn't force things. He's been great at making life easier for Julius Randle, who we all know was an all-star. You have evidence again that in this league you have to have a point guard. All these years, the Knicks have really not had a point guard, and now that they have one, it's an incredible situation in terms of their improvement. You mentioned they're 6 games above 500. That ties a season high. Their previous best was 25-19. They're now 33-27. So hey, 22 games left. It's a challenging schedule. In fact, they have the Wizards, New Orleans, and then over the next 4 after that, 2 are against Boston, 1 is against Miami, and 1 is against Brooklyn. So that could be a uh,
Oof.
key 4 game stretch after the first 2. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. With the games bunched up as well, they come thick and fast. But the Knicks' ability to close out games better, Bill, is going to be key for the rest of this season. The acquisition of Josh Hart now does give Tom Thibodeau a lot of options, on who to keep on the floor late in games. And he brings that experience together with Jalen Brunson, that familiarity. What a pickup that's been. What have you really seen since Josh Hart's come in late?
Well, first of all, he scored double digits in each of his 3 games as a Knicks so far. But more importantly than that, already he's been playing when the game's been on the line. And when the Knicks have struggled a lot of times, they don't get the loose balls. And the other team ends up getting more chances at a back-breaking 3, or the Knicks on offense don't get another crack at a shot because they don't get the offensive rebound. To me, in 3 games, it seems like Josh Hart is a magnet to the basketball. Every time there's a loose ball, he gets it. So the other team's not getting multiple attempts, and the Knicks are getting multiple attempts. That's been the biggest key for me with Josh Hart so far.
Yeah, and of course, the bench is stronger together with quickly. Bill, there was games where they would be devoid of some scoring, although Deuce McBride's been better late. But just having that extra bench depth is key because when Randle and Brunson have rest on the bench, the lead hasn't changed. So that's going to be another big key.
Yeah, what I like about Hart is that he's really good in transition or starting the fast break, and that's a really good mix when he's out there with Obi. They play faster. You got quickly, as you mentioned. Hopefully, RJ can get going again. He's been struggling, and they've been winning, even though he's been struggling. And what's interesting is that he may not be in that closing 5 now with the acquisition of Josh Hart, but with Hart there, he's got so many intangibles. They just play better basketball when he's on the court.
Yeah, and the defense now, Mitchell Robinson's impending return together with Josh Hart, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickly's perimeter defense. Like if RJ says, you said if he picks up his defense, this could be a great defensive team. What do you see defensively if Mitchell
Well,
Robinson returns?
well, that's going to help. Sims and Hartenstein, however, have played really well. Um, what's interesting is that without Robinson, the Knicks went a very solid 8-6. Hopefully, he can stay healthy the rest of the way. I think he could be back sooner rather than later, maybe as soon as Friday night against the Wizards. But look, they need him. He's their best player for the 5, and it can only improve things. Although you have to really give credit to Hartenstein and Sims. They played pretty well in support roles with Robinson out.
They have. They've been amazing late. It wasn't long before a lot of Knicks fans were talking about a depth signing at the big man spot, but the games have just rolled by. And we mentioned Randle and Brunson's season. Bill, they're in elite Knicks company with 15 30-point games from Brunson, 17 from Randle. The franchise high is 36 in a season with Patrick Ewing, Carmelo Anthony had a 29, 30 season with 30-point games. Amari Stoudemire had a 22 30-point game season. So Randle and Brunson can really get those games going with 30-point games. What do you see with that?
Well, I just think that one of the real important aspects of the Brunson acquisition is the fact that Randle hasn't had to create his own shot as much. He hasn't had to handle the ball as much. As a result, he's not forcing things. He's not making a lot of bad passes. His turnovers are not as prevalent as they were last year. So that's overall what's been really important for Randle. And Brunson's just a master. I mean, he's a little man with big man footwork. He's just been unbelievable how he's able to create his own shot. He's so crafty. He's not that big. He's not that fast. He's not that quick. He just is able to create space. And oh, by the way, his three ball shooting has been better than anybody could have possibly thought as well. I mean, the guy's been knocked down from three. So it's been great. I mean, I just don't know what else to say. Again, none of us, we thought he would be a good acquisition. He has been a great acquisition and should have been an all-star.
Yep, you said it. Should have been. And maybe an MIP candidate even.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Quickly, 6th Man of the Year candidate, in my opinion. Both of them. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think Brunson for most improved for sure. I don't know about Quickly. I don't know that he's there are other guys that score more. In fact, that rookie Mathurin from the Pacers has been incredible off the bench. And there are some others that have been maybe more offensive minded, although Quickly, as good as he's been, he's not scoring as much as, I think Mathurin's averaging 17 a game off the bench. And I know he's a rookie, but he might be the 6th Man of the year.
Yeah, these 22 games are going to be key. And it looks like by the close of today, the Knicks may have need to add another player to their roster. What are your thoughts on, potential some of the buyout candidates? Do you feel like the Knicks should look at a certain area to add to their roster?
Well, I don't think that they want to add a big name that might upset the chemistry or start getting attention. I think that with the addition of Hart and McBride now out of the rotation, you have McBride out of the rotation. So you got Obi, Hartenstein, Quickly, and Hart, and I think that's a pretty good 9 with the starting 5.
Yep, I agree.
Who would you want to add? I mean, I don't. You don't want to add one of these veterans. I don't think that's available.
Yeah.
For.
No, because you can't forget we still have Fournier on the roster. You still have Derrick Rose.
Right.
But
right.
should somebody go down, there's still that scoring off the bench.
Right.
But I think it's going to be maybe somebody from the G League, a two-way player, maybe converted to a regular roster spot.
Yeah, well, that obviously will be good for that person, but and good for the overall team. But that's not going to move the needle in terms of the rotation.
Yep, exactly. Yep, and we still have the big man depth with Jericho Sims. Potentially he might lose out minutes. How do you see the rotation playing out with Mitch back?
It's just that Sims is always the one that goes to the bench and loses his spot. There were times when Mitch was healthy and there's foul trouble that Thibs plays all three. So it's going to be Sims, I think, losing his spot, unfortunately. But the coach, is only going to play a couple of fives, and he only plays 9 men. So that's just the way it goes.
Yep. Just a quick couple more. Obviously, with that matchup you mentioned, 4v5, is that the Knicks' best scenario to finish in that 5th seed? And I like that matchup. They've played Cleveland really well, and I think we just match up well against the Cavs.
Well, the way this shakes down, if the Knicks finish top 6, first-round opponents either going to be Philly, Boston, Milwaukee, or Cleveland. And unless you get top 4, which I think is highly unlikely, you're not going to have home court. So I would say that the Knicks would be underdogs in any of those series. But to your point, now, the one thing about Cleveland is that a couple of times, at least once when they played the Cavs, Darius Garland was not in the lineup, and he is very good. They have Garland and Mitchell and the 2 bigs, Allen and Mobley. So they're going to be a challenge. I think the Knicks could possibly take Cleveland, but that would be a challenge. I think they'd be better off against Cleveland than any of the other 3 in the first round. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, they certainly played Philly tough as well. And with Brooklyn now out of the equation, Bill, going to slide most likely. Brooklyn's demise with what's happened. The Knicks own New York. Not that it was ever in doubt, but officially now the New York Knicks are the team to watch in New York.
You know, it's amazing that even with Durant and Irving, the Nets did not really move the needle in the market. If you're Kevin Durant and you had to do it all over again, I don't know why you would pick the Nets, because those of us that work in the market, live in the market, know that no matter what the Nets have, they're always second fiddle to the Knicks. Even though they had beaten the Knicks 9 straight times, even though they had Durant, they had Irving, the Knicks ratings are still much, much better. It's
Yep.
interesting how it works. But it's a Knicks town, and now
Mm.
hopefully will be even more of a Knicks town.
Yep, we got stars with good chemistry. You talk about Atlanta, another team where Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, they recently fired Nate McMillan yesterday. So another team in the East, Atlanta, that were predicted to be better than the Knicks. It didn't go that way, Bill. It didn't go that way.
Yeah, well, Trae Young, I think, is a big problem behind the scenes. They got a lot of talent. Knicks just beat them, obviously, before the break. But Atlanta, you know, they're pretty much as they were constituted when they had that great playoff run. But I guess internally they're not getting
Mm.
along. And now a coaching change at this point in the year, boy, that really shakes things up. So you got to think that Atlanta's in some trouble. I say it comes down to Miami, Brooklyn, and the Knicks for 5 and 6. And if the Knicks finish third out of that, they'll get seventh, and they don't want to be in seventh. Remember, they got 3
Yep.
games left against the Heat. They got 2 games left against the Celtics, and those are going to be a key 5-game set, that's for sure. And don't forget about the West Coast trip at Sacramento, at the Lakers, at the Clippers, at the Blazers. That'll be a challenge too.
Well, the Wild Wild West. Yep. With Kevin Durant going there now, with Clippers upgrading, Lakers upgrading. It's fascinating. What's the storyline to watch for you for the rest of this season, and who might win it all?
Well, I personally think the Celtics are the Bucks out of the East. I can't call the West; it's totally wide open. Giannis obviously is out with a bad wrist, but I think the Celtics and the Bucks are a straight up 7-game even Steven. Let's see how that goes. I can't sit here. I can't make a call on the West. Uh,
Mm.
I don't. It's too even. There's too much parity out in the West to even make a call.
Yeah, you got Memphis, of course. But 45 wins is my prediction at the start of the season, Bill. It's looking pretty good right now. At this position, would you take the over or the under 45 wins?
33 and 27 with 22 to go. So if they get 11 wins, they'll be at 44. I'm not taking the over.
Oh, okay.
I, I
So
think
maybe right on.
I think they're above 40 and below 4. I think 44. How's that?
That's pretty good. I think
Yeah.
that should be
I
enough to
I
get.
had a guy, I bet a guy at work over 38 and a half. I'm going to win that. Vegas was totally wrong about the Knicks. Totally wrong. They had
Oh,
the under what, 39, 38 and a half?
well, you got the better of that colleague.
Yeah.
Were they a Nets fan?
No. No.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, Bill. Be well.
Okay,
Let's
buddy.
talk soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Talk to you, man. Thank you for having me as
See
always.
you.
Appreciate it.